All right. Good morning. Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon Williams, one of the founders here at Acorn Labs, and welcome to our latest live stream. I'm joined by my co-founder, Darren Shepard, and today we'll be introducing and demoing a new service that we put out there last week called Otto8. Darren, what can you tell us about Otto8? It says ChatGPT for DevOps.
I think that pretty much sums it up. So the what we're building, I've had this. We've been doing this for like a year now, kind of fooling around with AI, and I've kind of struggled with how do I get AI to be efficient with the things that I know and do, and that's mostly DevOps type things. That's kind of our background. And so I use ChatGPT and Claude and all these AI services quite a bit. But connecting it to the actual task that I do is kind of painful and annoying. It's a lot of copying and pasting and whatnot. And so we're just trying to kind of address that. It's like, how do we bring ChatGPT and DevOps closer to each other? So there's, that's the kind of a high level of what we're trying to accomplish, I think, with Otto8. That sound good?
Yeah, and I think if people have been following our work, we've been working over the last year on a couple different projects. We started working on GPT script in the spring. We kind of introduced GPT script, and then in the summer we rolled out Clio, and now we're rolling out Otto. And Otto, I think, is really kind of the culmination of a lot of this. It's sort of leverages the underpinning technology of GPT script and the ability to create these tools and leverage those tools, but packages it in a way that you can consume from a browser. And it takes a lot of the power of the CLI that Clio sort of was unlocking, but then brings it together with things like a workspace and sort of universal access. So maybe probably the easiest thing is to dive in and start demoing and show people what it can do. But tell me about just the journey a little bit, and maybe
because I want to. So it's like, because we've been on this journey, so we started with GPT script, where that was like, that was right when I started with this AI stuff of like, how can I just easily use AI to do anything? And I was really fascinated with the idea of tool calling, the idea that AI can call tools. And so a GPT script was just a very, very basic system where it's like, I can connect AI to some type of tool, a script or a program really easily. So it's like, that was what we did with GPT script, was just make it really easy to connect AI to a tool. But that's like not a full solution. Like, what do I do with that? So then we built Clio, which was like, well, what if I use the power of GPT script to create a command line? So I can basically, at that time, what we were doing is kind of bringing ChatGPT to the command line. And when I did that, it was like, hey, I can have ChatGPT or OpenAI GPT-4o interact with CLI programs, and we found out like that was really powerful. It was really cool having it interact with CLI programs because it already knows all the CLI stuff. As DevOps, we run a lot of CLIs, and then it was just able to start doing things. It was really cool. But then it was like, well, I can run this on my laptop, like on my local machine, but like, what if I want to automate this? What if I want to do like triggers and webhooks and it's like I really needed a server side thing. And so with Otto8 is when we kind of built like what's a server side thing of this, like but then it just kind of grew into like we needed so much more and all these different things. And so it's like it's kind of this evolution, and it's like I'm excited to show Otto8 where it is today. Like we released things early, probably too early, and this is just like, this is our journey. It's like I don't think this is a destination. Like we're figuring it out with everyone else. And so like what we're showing with Otto8 is like, this is just what we figured out so far. And I'm excited to show the stuff and have people try it, give the feedback. Like when we released Clio, the feedback was great. A lot of people found it super useful. We've got some like pretty diehard users of Clio. And we're trying to capture some of that we've done, but just take it a little further. So that's
awesome, man. Well, let's dive into it. Let's log in and maybe share your screen.
Let me share mine. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I can log in here. So for anyone, oh wait, I'm already signed in. Let me sign out. I bet you sign out doesn't even work, to be honest. Let me see. Ha! Okay, it doesn't even work. Whatever. So you can see the amazing polish I have. I broke this. I realized. But anyways, okay. But to log into Otto8, so if you just go to Otto8.ai, so kind of the first thing you want to know about this is a website, it's hosted service, but this same thing you can just go to GitHub and you can download and run. Here's a Docker Compose that shows it. It's basically a Docker container. We are using Docker under the hood, and we'll show what that means. And you need a Postgres database. It's really simple to get set up and running. So this same thing, if you just put in your API key, because right now, this is the first question everyone always asks is like, will it work with local models? Yes, it technically will work with local models, but most local models are kind of crap. Like they're just not very good for this task. So it does technically work, but you're going to get very poor results. So I highly recommend everyone just go with the OpenAI route. It's not that expensive or whatever if you want to run this yourself. So set up an OpenAI key, run Compose up, and you will get this exact same UI. Super simple to get running. But anyway, so we're running this publicly for anyone. You're using our OpenAI access. We're giving it away for free. So you can just click login, and it'll just do an SSO, simple SSO to GitHub. We should just be asking for your email. We're not asking for any access to GitHub. That was just our simple SSO login. So when you come into Otto8, it's going to look very much like any other chatting thing. I was asking for like the legacy. I was trying to tweet some joke about this terrible, insecure way of hashing passwords. But you can do all the regular things, talk to it, like tell me what is case, the normal stuff that you can do. This is powered by OpenAI, GPT-4o. So it kind of has all the same capabilities. Like it's going to be about as smart as GPT-4o is. It also has integrated search. So if you we haven't fine-tuned it to make it so it always calls search and whatnot. It's like this is kind of like the raw state of where Otto8 is. But you can say no, can you just Google that and tell me a better answer? So because sometimes you're just I don't trust you or whatever. It does it. Let's see if it actually works. It should actually. Let me see. Mm-hmm. So it'll search. And so it has integrated search and stuff. So in terms of a general just kind of chat platform, and it's decent. It's pretty good. We're still working on optimizing some of the speed and whatnot of this, but it's a chat interface. That's not actually what I find the most interesting. It's more of because I can already have I use ChatGPT and Claude a lot. I already have those systems. They're great. It's what am I lacking of from a DevOps perspective? It's how do I easily connect it to things? And that's where Clio was super cool because it had access to your command line. So what we did with this is we made it so we can kind of have that simplicity of connecting it to other things. And that comes through the way of really these two features up here, which are you have a shell, and then you also have tools with the ability to do custom tools. Let me see. So we can dive into those two things. Maybe I should just tell you very quickly what these buttons all are up here. This is tasks. This we have support for database tables. You can just tell. Just type things like create a table, insert this data. So you can write things where it'll just persist some state. We have support here if you want to upload PDFs and stuff where it's oh, what's in this PDF? Normal RAG stuff. This is files. This is very similar to Canvas support. So it's AI has access to these files. You can do things like this and say improve and make less stupid, and it will go and change it. So this is kind of standard stuff you see already in the other chat platforms. But we have all that in it. And it works, and it's cool. It's all open source. I've yet to actually seen another open source project that has all of these Canvas features and stuff. But they'll probably exist. I just don't know. But it's all cool, and we've figured out that stuff. So you can see when I said that, He's like, oh, okay, well then I'll write and I'll update that file. And usually now, this was the version that it thinks is less stupid. I don't know.
This is all GPT 4.0 you're using right here. But if somebody wants to integrate other public models like Claude 3.5 or something,
so if you want to go with a public model like Claude, like the frontier models, the big ones, I'm sure even DeepSeek, the new DeepSeek ones will work too. Like if you want to go with those hosted ones that are big, huge models that are powerful, they should all work fine. And then they'll be slightly different because each model is slightly different and has a little kind of nuances to it. But they should all work with Otto8. It was my comment before about the local models was that. Like if you're running a model small enough to run on your laptop, it's just not going to be that smart. There's just not enough parameters in it. Like it's like, yeah. Sorry, I actually wanted to go back to the old file because that was something I was actually doing. So it should figure out and roll back to the old one. We'll see if it does it. But anyways, okay, so let me get into the stuff that's kind of more unique and cool about Otto8, which is the shell and the custom tools. So the shell, the shell here, so let me try to get, because this confuses some people. It's like, what the heck is a shell? Why do I have a shell? What it is? Basically what it is we're running a Docker container server side. That's why when I showed you the compose, it's like, oh, it's using Docker. We're running a Docker container server side. And AI has access to this container. It can run commands. So it has its own CLI, which is super cool because if you want to do anything DevOps related, there's a CLI practically for everything, like or Terraform or whatever. There's CLIs to interact with things. And the vast majority of the tools we use as DevOps engineers are well known by AI. So we don't really have to, we just get all of that for free where it knows how to do it. But the cool thing is if anyone's used Clio is even if it doesn't know it really well, it'll try to run a command and it will fix itself and do whatever. So the idea here is we have this container, and this container, it's like the chat session here. So I can say let's see if this works. Can you list the files in home? See what it does. So sometimes because we haven't really tuned this super well yet, sometimes it will say no, I don't have access to it. And then you go no, you do. And then it will do it. But that's just kind of the rawness of what we have. So you can see it ran ls, and it's the same thing if I said ls here, it's the exact same thing. So it's if I touch foo, well, I don't have permissions to, right now you don't have root. We're going to give you root because we found that it's just annoying that people they want root for everything. So if I did something here, it's create echo foo into the file home Otto8 bar. Let's see if it works. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So it's gonna do the right thing here. So so it created up. So that's the idea is the AI has access to command line, they're tied together. Also, you have these files up here. Those same files are in this directory workspace. So this exact file here is the same file that you're going to see there. It's the same file if I click and I edit it. The syncing between these is a little crummy right now, but we'll fix that. So now the cool thing is so it has access to the CLI, so I can just do things where it's okay, well, and we already installed a whole crap of tools, but you can install anything you want with Brew, and then we're going to switch it so you can do apt-get too, but we'll give you root. And then also anything what's persisted in this container, persisted over time, is your home directory and the workspace. So if I exit this container, it actually deletes the container. But I'll come back in and the home directory was still persisted and anything that's in the workspace. So you can screw around and mess with this container and add more things to it. Just know you have to put it in the home or in the workspace. But so I already have in here, doctl. Okay, so let's just fool around with it's can you list my VMs on DigitalOcean? So that's kind of like a generic statement. So it might reply back and say, no, I can't. Again, that's because it's not super well, like we're still tweaking things. We'll see if it gets smart, if it's smart enough. Yeah, so it's saying, well, you need to list that. And I can say like, well, I have DOCTL installed, just run it. Okay. So sometimes, but like now that it knows it has it installed, then the next time it's, it's just going to start running things, whatever. So it's like, these are the stuff is raw. We'll tweak it over now. But you'll see the very first thing is like, oh crap, it's not authenticated, right? So how do you manage authentication? So at this point, because you have this shell here and everything's shared, it's like I can just run DOAuth. It's however you want to manage this. It's like I can just run DOAuth the init and then just type it in here and just do this init this way, and then this command line, it will be authorized the same way. Or if you're kind of like more paranoid and stuff, as everyone probably should be, you can set it through environment variables. And these environment variables on our side, like we encrypt and store these, and it's however much you trust us, but this is a platform you can run yourself, and then you can encrypt it, and with AWS or whatever encryption service, we support a lot of encryption backends. And so you can actually store these things, kind of in an encrypted way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go with the environment variable approach. Let me find, so what I'm going to do is, so it's like I need to set the like, I don't know what is the env, what the env var I need to set. I don't know what the name of it is. So I'm going to go with the environment variable approach, so I can just set the environment variable. Okay, this is it. Okay, environment variable. No, set that, and then the value. Here, I'm just gonna take this off the screen real quick. Paste that. Okay, and then save that. Okay, so one little thing is if you set an environment variable, you do have to restart the shell. So I do need to exit, and then I can just do that, and then it should be all set up. Okay, so now I set that environment variable, so I should say, can you list again? So what's interesting is like, because we're trying to the speed of this, we're saying it's like, oh, thinking really hard. Like that means we're actually waiting on OpenAI. It's like, we're trying to figure out how we can kind of optimize some of those things. Oh, this is funny. I have a Minecraft server running, and I actually am not super excited about the fact, well, whatever. That's my Minecraft server. Okay, so so now that I have access to this, I basically I can now basically you can start doing things. I mean, I don't know, like Shannon. Well, like here, so it's like I don't want to. We don't want to keep this going like super long. We're like 20 minutes. So like I'm just going to show you really quickly. Like so, it's like create me a VM. I don't know. What do you need? To do that. Let's just give it a shot. Droplet name, region. Oh, you can see this shell times out at a certain amount of time. This is some weird issue with Cloudflare. I got to figure this out. But again, we'll figure it out. Okay. Okay, so we'll just say call it test 1 in the SF region, or we'll say SFO3 region, want Ubuntu, and let's make it a cheap 2 GB VM. Just go with that and create it.
Hey, Jason asked a question. He said, I don't know if you mentioned it, but how are tools dispatched? Can you force call a tool if you have some that are similar?
Well, you can just tell it. I mean, so it's like because you can, it's calling, well, let's see what this is doing. It's calling that tool. So this is kind of fun because it's calling the tool. I should be able to just see exactly what it's running because this is a UI thing because I'm not showing what the command, but I can see it's running this command right here. However long that takes to run. Let's see. But for the tools, so what I can do, is we can create custom tools if you want. And so the custom tools, okay, cool. So it just created that VM. Let's see, it'll probably tell me the summary of it. Yeah. Cool. What's the root password? I don't know how to access it. I probably should have told it I wanted to use an SSH key. Anyhow, okay, so let's go back to this. So we can create, do not come there and typically access. No, that's not true. I don't think it's true. Navigate to, I always use SSH keys. I wonder if share the new password. Oh, maybe I have to log into the console to get it. But so I'm sure I can tell it to just delete the VM and create it again with an SSH key. So that's a good thing. But so you can easily create tools. I don't think this is exactly the question, but you can ask it, what tools do you have available? We don't hide any of this. It's it should just tell me. So you can, if you want, and you know what tools are available to it, you can just tell it in the prompt, call this exact tool. Because these are all the tools that it has available to it. And these are, there's two things. We have the tools up here, this has Notion, it's not enabled, and Slack's enabled. And then if I go to the admin side, this is a whole nother meetup. We would have to talk about this, but it has built in these other tools here. So you can just ask it. So if you want to prompt it, you can just say, call this tool, and it will. But you can also just easily bring in custom tools. So here's just kind of the canonical weather example. So it's I can run this. This is fake. It's it's just going to echo some number. This is not this. You'd have to call a real weather service if you wanted to. But so you can very easily. So this is going to. This runs this JavaScript version. I can also do the same thing in Python. I can do it in a shell script. I can do it in a Docker image. So it's you can pull in these. And so it's now I have this weather tool where it's it's the weather, right? And so once I save this and have this tool, and this tool is available here, now I have a custom tool, and I can say, what's the weather in Miami? And it's going to call, it did, which one? The Docker one? That one might be a little slow because it's going to pull the image for the first time. Yeah, so you see it's calling that tool, and hopefully it works. Let's see, details. Yeah. So it called the tool, got the output. So you can very easily, I use this where it's I just love shell scripting. I do everything I can with shell scripts. So it's I'll just create shell scripts really easily that do stuff and then package that up as a tool. And then it's a very simple canned task. And then if you go into advanced options here, you can set environment variables, and you can give this tool, just this tool, access to specific credentials. So I can create a tool. So I've set up tools. I have these tabs. I've set up tools that have access to production environments that have just read-only accounts. So it's the tool will just run a bunch of it grabs a bunch of general status about the target environment. And so I just say we'll run this tool. And then it just dumps a bunch of general status. And then AI interprets it and goes, okay, well, the system looks healthy. And so I do things like this where it's like, these are just examples, but it's like, oh shoot, like this task here where I'm like, check the load average in the shell and the number of cores. And then if it seems high, slack Darren. And so this thing just runs every hour. Oh, I think it's actually running right now. Oh, wait, no. Yeah. So this just runs and it will Slack me because of the Slack tool. But I don't know if I want to, like, should we stop here, Shannon, or?
I mean, I think there were some questions actually. I mean, people were asking about, how you can integrate this with Slack and Google and chat. So like, maybe that's a good thing to just talk through is, is all this through webhooks? Like, how do they, how do you kind of write to Slack? How can it read from Slack? Like, what can it do with other types of tools? Like, what kind of tools could people, like, can I connect this with, let's say I want to connect this with Datadog and I want it to, kind of monitor my Datadog metrics and come back to me with alerts or things like that. Like, how could you see something like this working for a pretty typical DevOps use case of monitoring a running system?
Yeah, so the simplest way is again through like CLIs or these custom tools. Like, so these are like very simple. So if you have like Datadog or something like that, if they have CLIs, we don't have like oh yeah. So you can write any simple tool. You can run any CLI, and so it's a very easy way to get access. But then we have these tasks, which these can be run on demand, or they can be ran on an interval, or we can run them on a webhook. And very shortly, we'll have email support. We actually already have it in the platform. It's just not configured on this system. So what you can do for, like, let's say like Datadog or any monitoring system is you get this URL here, and anything that gets posted to this URL is going to kick off a new task, and then it just runs these instructions where you can just say like inspect the payload, which is a Datadog event, and then it's like and then you can give it things where it's like if it looks like a bad thing, try to root cause it. We have some cool demos where we kind of do this, where it's like you'll respond to an event, and then you give it access to some target systems where it's allowed to inspect it, and then at the last thing, then you say, okay, Slack Darren with the any important information. So now you can just set up a little webhook that will run these steps or whatever. Yeah, so it's like that's how you can very easily. So it's like you can either create, once you have these tools, and like the steps here can call all of these same tools and everything that's in the CLI. So you can now on demand post anything, run a task. That task does something, interact. To talk to Slack is like pretty straightforward. Of the very first time that you go to talk, it's going to click and ask you to OAuth. I've already, actually I can do this because I can delete the Slack credential. Okay. So what will happen is say like, send Darren a Slack message saying hello. Okay.
I've got a bunch more questions too coming in, Darren.
So now I can OAuth. So these tools, like these Slack ones that are doing OAuth, these are a little bit fancier tools, okay? Because there's two levels of tools. So now at this point, it's done the OAuth. Slack is set up. So these tools here, the non-custom ones, these are more fancy tools that require a little bit more effort to develop, and we've developed a whole bunch of these. And this is where we start getting into the platform side of this, of like things that this is like Otto8 is powered by this platform called OBot, and it has a lot kind of more power in it that you can kind of build any AI assistant, not just a DevOps one. And that's where we have these more tools. And so these tools, they can start getting very, very complicated. Or you can do them very simple, like what I already showed before. And so we'd have to go into pretty much in depth on how you can kind of write the more complicated ones. But I don't know if you really need to get into a lot of that, because most things can be done with the more simple approach. But we're going to be enhancing a lot of the it's a lot of this complexity is managing credentials, is like, how do you do these like OAuth simple sign-ons, like can I do an AWS SSO or just do like GitHub OAuth and stuff like that? Yeah.
So there was a question on YouTube from Cooney, and he asked if these tools can be defined in code so that he can use version control on them. So how do you build a tool in code and bring it into the platform?
Yeah, so that's all through. So basically, this is where the GPT script technology comes in. Okay, so GPT script is this whole thing on how you can write tools that connect to AI, and so you can write. Let me see. Do we have? Or maybe it's an OBOT. Oh, maybe it's examples and guides. Chat with local files, chat with APIs. Sorry, I'm not very good at our own tool. So let's see, content custom tools, right in your first tool. Right, okay, here it is. So here's examples. This is where I was saying this gets into the more complicated side. So you can write full on tools and put them in GitHub. And so this is like full code that does whatever the heck you want. It's managed in GitHub. And then this is on the admin side, which is the OAuth platform. You can just basically go in here and register new tools, and you put in the repo of where that is. So let me see if this has an example already. Yeah, so here's a tool. I don't know what the heck this does, but I just want to show you the example. Is you can basically register this tool. Takes a second. What was it called? Oh, no, it's okay. So that registered that tool. I can go, this is from the admin side, and I can now make this tool available. Where is it? Hash. And always on, optional on. And I'm going to put it like optional off. I'll do that. So now when I go back in from the user side, I'm changing production, which is not the smartest thing. Now everyone should have access to this tool. Okay, so then
if someone wants to bring a tool that's not an admin and they're just using the Otto8 system, they would add it through the custom tool side?
Yeah, then there's custom tools. So it's like there's two different. Like this is just a super way. Like you don't need to get GitHub involved and do all that. It's super easy. Most tools you'll find are really small snippets of code. I highly recommend people to just go this approach. But if you're doing something that's really a lot more complicated and you need like super, like you could want like higher level of privileges, you do weird things, whatever, you can go with a more complicated route and go through the platform and do it this way. So there's a lot of options. Again, we're all still figuring this out, like what's the best way. Love to hear feedback and try it out. But it's kind of like this platform's super open. Like you can kind of extend it in a bajillion different ways. We have hooks everywhere. Yeah.
So like there was a question from Matt, and he said, where are the tools and scripts running? Are these things running in our cloud? Are they running local? Like in this case, where it's hosted, the Otto8 service, obviously they're running in our infrastructure. What about when you're running yourself?
So this is a, sorry, I just want to remove that because this is the production site. These are running wherever the server is. And so when you're running these tools, they are running on the Otto8 server. And then if you want to run it yourself, you don't trust us or you just want to do it yourself or whatever, you can run it yourself, but it's going to be running server side, not client side. So the tools are running on the server. Yeah.
Another question from Brendan. He sort of asked if there was some way to iterate on tasks as you're building it, like see more context and how they work.
Yeah, so the cool thing about tasks is like, so when you do this, it's like, it's really, so what I want to do is, okay, first, so what we're going to do is like list my VMs in DO. So if I just hit enter here, it's going to run that step, okay? So I can go, yeah, I think I have to add, where did it go? Where'd it go? Where's the advanced section? Oh, I screwed up something. Let me just do this. Delete that step. I think I just hit a bug in the UI. There's supposed to be a little section here where I can set the environment variables. Oh, wait, no. Let me just delete this. Why? Why can't I set? Oh, never mind. Okay, sorry. It's because I don't. I'm so confused. There's supposed to be environment variables. I must have screwed that up. There's somewhere where you can add environment variables, and I think I might have introduced a bug that dropped it. Okay, because it's not this task. Whatever. I just hit a bug. That's annoying. So let's just do something just arbitrary and dumb, and I'll end up fixing that bug. So if you wanted, so you can just see kind of like the iterative behavior of creating tasks and whatnot. So it's like pick a number between 1 and 100, and you know what it's going to do? It's going to pick 42. Watch. Let's see. Yep. AI almost always picks 42. That's because geeks wrote this. And so so then you can just add another statement. Okay, is the number less than 20? Right. So you can iterate through and create these things. And so I can go back here and be like, oh, pick a number between 1 and 100 randomly. Do not pick 42. Right. And so this will just run like this one step over again. But you can see like this one's kind of out of state because it didn't run that. So I can say, oh, we'll just run the entire thing, and then it should just run the whole thing. So the behavior like of writing these tasks, like the iterative stuff, is like super nice. And it's like, because this is just a chat thing where it's like, it's the exact same crap that's over here that pops up here. So if this does multiple steps and stuff, you can see like, oh, it called this tool or whatever. And then once you're done with it, then it's like, now I have this thing, and then I can click run, and you know, it's like I can run it however many times I want. And then we don't really limit any of this stuff. So it's like, and so I can see it's like, oh, let's see, this one's running, you know. So I ran those tasks, and then you can go back in and, you know, oops, I didn't want to. So you can go and edit it. So this is super useful for doing, like if you do webhook. Oh yeah, because like if you're doing like webhook, so you can put in like a sample payload here. So, you know, like whatever the webhook is that's coming in. And so you can test this out of like, what is this webhook? Like something where it'd be like, build, and you can say like, did the build succeed? Oops, typo. I love the fact that it just accepts, right? And then so if I tested this and said failure, and then I tried it again, right? So it's like you can, like, this is a cool thing is you can very easily, you just get a sample payload. And the same thing works for oh, I don't have email set up here, but you can do email. Like it's super cool because like you can just, we give you a unique email address and it goes through SendGrid or whatnot. Oh yeah, I already have email, I think, built into here. It's like, you send Aaron at Acorn email. So what is this? Yeah, because we have built in. I think I have. This might not work. Let me see. It might say, "Oh, I might have turned it off." No, I turned it off. I don't have email set up at all. We'll do that later. We'll do that next week or something. I'll show you all the email stuff. Yeah. So that's all the random. I think that.
There was a cool, I mean, Matt had another question. He's asking if there was an alert manager example. Like if you get an alert, get logs, do some logic, then try and fix the issue. Have you, I mean, maybe not just because we're low on time. I don't want to go through that.
So it's
with that kind of use case. I know Bill was working on some cool use cases like that.
Yeah, like because we have a cool one with PagerDuty, like a demo for that. But like we can show you exactly how to do like set up some of this stuff. Like you can do PagerDuty. Like we have a specific PagerDuty tool somewhere. So, but that's for a slightly. But like for just responding to events, almost all platforms support webhooks somehow. So it's like, because this is a cool thing. It's like as an engineer, it's like I give you a webhook. You can just post it there, and it's going to run the task. You can do whatever the heck you want. Like you can figure out a lot of stuff. So we can do demos and show that end to end of like
maybe next week. I mean, we're going to try and do a few of these over the next couple of weeks at least. Kind of. Maybe come back on Thursday and show a few more things and back next week. So we'll be running these with some more detailed examples, but we just wanted to use today to give you a sneak peek of what Otto8 is. We kind of showed a little bit of OBOT. If you want to check that out, that's also on LinkedIn. We haven't really announced that much yet. It's still mostly under development, but that's the platform that powers this whole thing. So we're pretty busy. We've been working on a lot of cool stuff, all open source as always. So Otto8 is open source, OBOT is open source, GPT script is open source. And, what we're building here is basically an open source layer that can work with any LLM, can connect to almost any kind of API or tool through a number of different resources, and can be run yourself. So it's software that talks to systems that can be powered by an LLM. So in a lot of ways, I think Darren's example of this is GPT script, this is ChatGPT, but for DevOps, is really true. And in a lot of ways, what we're working is this is ChatGPT for anything that you can run yourself that's open source. So we're kind of pushing in a lot of different interesting directions right now. It's really exciting time here. There was a last question that John asked a little bit ago, and I thought it'd be good to close on, was just like, what's your vision for where this goes? I mean, if you're looking forward, Darren, what do you think this has what do you think is the potential for something like this?
Oh man, I mean, so the thing is like I've spent my entire career automating things, and I love automating things, and I just see this huge potential of. I don't look at AI and say like I already know how to build orchestration systems. I know how to automate infrastructure. I can do all that stuff, but I've personally hit this realm of like, there's all these things I can't do. I can't automate. I can't do it. Like they're very hard. I know the very difficult things where we struggle. And so I get very excited at the potential of AI that I see. Like I have the raw capability, and LLM gives me this raw capability to solve these whole new class of problems, which is a lot of like the meaningless day-to-day tasks we do as engineers and whatnot. I mean, so, but it's not just engineers. It's like what we do is it's like all these day-to-day tasks that we do that we can't automate because it's hard. We don't have is AI. We can do that with AI, but it's not obvious how to do it. Like we have this powerful AI model, but how do we get the mechanisms of actually doing the automation and all this stuff and stuff like. And so where we're going is trying to figure out how to, in a very simple way, very high level, simple way of building these. They're very like complex automation systems. And like, that's what I'm interested in. It's like, there's a lot of things people can do with AI. Me personally, I just love automation, automating tasks, any task of any kind, because like whatever we do as a DevOps engineers, very similar things are done in all other business functions. They just deal with different systems. They deal with websites more, things like that. Like we have a whole different things. Like we can automate browsers and take screenshots and the stuff that Operator, if you see an OpenAI's Operator, we have a lot of those building blocks in place. But we were missing some key AI functionality from the models, but they're now providing them. So it's like, we're really excited about what we can do from driving websites. And that's a lot more applicable, not so much, I think, maybe for us as DevOps, but like, we don't care as much that, but other people do. So it's just like, I just see a huge potential, but I get super frustrated in that, like the potential is there, but we're struggling on getting to that potential because we just haven't figured out how to connect all the dots yet. It's like we have this amazing brain that has no arms. and it's like, how do I give it arms? And like, that's what I'm trying to do. So that's where we're going. And I think the path forward is like, it's unknown. And that's what I find is fun, is like, we don't really, the more I see people try to take traditional approaches on how they solve things in the past and apply it to AI, like the more I see people do that, the more they fail. Like, we have to look at this as a new way of doing things. And I really see so much of like, I see all the patterns of programming where it's like, look, this is how I can break apart a problem and solve it with programming and systems and stuff like that. I see all those concepts being applied with AI, but in a completely different way. It's like, it's the same concepts, but done in a different way. And that's why I get excited about this stuff. It's like building these tasks and tools and composition. It's like, it's just cool. It's just fun. I really, really enjoy this. I mean, I think someone asked, how scalable is this? It's as scalable as any alpha open source software. So, you know.
Yeah, I think he was saying more how interesting how scalable it can be, and I think that's
okay. I thought it was
I think that's the exciting part too. Is like, this is AI for people who want to push it into new places, and in a lot of ways, Clio was sort of driving that and first attempt in that direction. I think this is another big jump forward, and for standardizing it, but also for sharing it. I mean, the idea that this is a server that you can run, that you can sort of put and make available to people. It's there's a lot of potential with that. So, Darren, we got done in less than 50 minutes, which I think is about 20 minutes longer than we were targeting. So as usual, we're over, but by setting an earlier target, we got done still. We didn't hit an hour. So, if anybody has questions or wants to, struggling, fire away, Darren or I on socials, or, definitely GitHub. There's a million ways to get a hold of us. But we also have a Discord server. So thank you all. Darren, thanks for sharing this. We'll be back probably later this week with another one, maybe on Thursday, just doing a few more advanced things, build some stuff up. But thank you, everybody, and have an awesome Monday. Have a great week.
Adios.